how you can become the architect of your highest timeline. I'm Dr. Katja Rusanen, spiritual counselor and best-selling author, and today I'm joined by Cynthia Clark. And over the past 17 years, Cynthia has worked with more than 8,000 people to help them find clarity, purpose, and abundance. She's the author of Stories in Your Hands, Palmistry Tarot, and the MOJO of Multidimensional Manifesting. And she combines hand analysis, channeling, and palm portal healing to guide deep transformation and spiritual ascension. In her session today, Cynthia will share her diamond path framework to help you release limiting patterns, align with your exalted self, and step onto the roadmap of ascension. She'll also guide you through a powerful Pleiadian activation using the 8 essential intentions, an energetic blueprint designed to anchor clarity, abundance, and spiritual embodiment. So, Cynthia, I am so excited that you are here with us today because all that sounds super amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here as well. And I appreciate being invited and I appreciate being able to share my insights with your audience. So thank you so much.
And as we get started this work, I would love to hear what has been your own biggest transformation as you stepped onto this path? What has been your spiritual growth since you started doing this work? One of them. I know there is a lot. You can tell first
That's
from
true.
one thing.
I've got a few, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, I consider myself kind of a average normal person, which maybe I shouldn't do that, but you know, I used to own a restaurant. I used to study business. I mean, that was my college degree. And I was in a transition period in my early 30s. So we had sold the restaurant and I was essentially retired at age 31, which was quite young. And I did what retired people do. I got an RV and I traveled America. It was actually a really fun time of my life because it was like I went from being super, super busy, working 80 to 100 hours a week to literally having nothing to do, which was a little bit of a shock to my system. And I had to sort of get used to that. So anyway, after about 2 years of taking time off and just like, okay, this is nice, but I feel like I need to be doing more than this. That's when I went to the library and I picked up a book on palmistry. And I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I wasn't, I had just thrown it out to the universe, basically like, I'm bored and I know I need to be doing more. Right? So the universe is like, oh, good. Well, it's about time. We've been waiting for you to go to the library and pick up this book. So I ended up finding this book on palmistry, and I had this really profound déjà vu experience. I felt like I had read it before. I felt like I had studied palmistry my entire life, even though I had never studied it before. And I really got a clear message from spirit at that time. It was like, you need to study this again. So I'm like, okay, I don't know where this message is coming from. I don't know who's talking. I don't know what's going on, but I know there's something really significant and special happening right now. So I ended up just practicing on random people, you know. That's what you do, right? You go up to people and you try not to be forceful, right? I'm never like that. But I would just pose the question like, hey, I'm just learning how to read hands. Would you mind showing me your hands so that I can practice? And so I actually had a lot of people were extremely interested. And they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, show me, show me. What do you see? And the response was so overwhelmingly positive. So then I ended up going to Wisconsin. It was my husband's family reunion. And he's got a huge family. He was 9 kids in the family. I mean, enormous family. And I ended up reading hands for 4 days straight, nonstop. And I probably read for at least 50 of the relatives. I mean, it was a lot. And everybody else was doing all these other activities. I was literally sitting in the clubhouse, one after another, after another, after another. People were coming in for a reading. So I got a huge amount of exposure and practice in a very short amount of time. And it was when I was still pretty new at what I was doing. But that really was a turning point.
I love that. And that was a story I haven't heard before. We have known for years now.
Yeah.
But it is really when we are on the path, it is the universe supports you and brings also these opportunities for you. So love that
Absolutely.
one. And I know you are all about manifestation too. So we talk about that in a moment. But first, I want to just clarify a couple of things because
Sure.
you might be just wondering. What is the highest timeline? Like they might have just been drawn here and now they are like, what are we really talking about here? So can you give us a definition of what does that mean?
Sure. Well, what it means to me is that we are infinite beings, right? You have a soul, you also have a body, a physical body, and you are multidimensional. Okay. So when you think about being multidimensional, you can think of your potential existences, right? So essentially, we are creating a timeline for ourselves to experience in this reality that we call, Earth, you know, our Earth existence. But our timelines are continuously changing and moving. They ebb and flow based upon what we're creating, right? So if we are creating from a place of scarcity or lack or frustration, or maybe we're not on purpose, then we're probably not in what I would call our highest timeline, right? Because I believe that the universe is benevolent. I believe that we are here to embody our purpose and our soul's calling. And it doesn't have to be a struggle or yes, we go through struggle. Everybody goes through struggle, but it doesn't have to be that forever. And it doesn't have to be maybe as bad as we think it has to be, right? So sometimes we actually unknowingly, and I call this negative manifesting, by the way, we inadvertently manifest negatively, and then we put ourselves on a lower timeline than what we could actually be on because we're not conscious about it. We don't recognize what we're doing. Right. So as we become more conscious, and this is really what the whole process of ascension is all about, spirituality and ascension, then we naturally rise up to our highest timeline. And that's how it works.
Yeah, and you mentioned something there, and I was just having this moment. Yeah, we are often very good on the negative manifestation. The things we don't want, all of a sudden we somehow can manifest those into our life. So how do we then start shifting that around? What is something we can do? Like if others there as well, like, hey, I'm really good in negative manifestation. So how do we shift it around? How can we become the architect and manifest what we truly want, those desires of ours?
Yeah, I've been studying this for a really long time because I went through my own dark night of the soul back in 2015. I ended up getting divorced from my first husband. and I got vertigo for about 9 months. And I was literally forced on my back with my eyes closed. And the universe was like, you are going to sit and meditate, and you're going to learn all about this manifesting stuff. And I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, I was manifesting some pretty bad stuff. I had a mice infested cabin that I lived in. There was like mice everywhere. I mean, it was horrible, so I know what it's like to struggle. And, I didn't grow up rich or anything like that. I grew up in a pretty modest, middle class family in America. So when I went through this dark night, what I call my dark night of the soul, I learned to really go inward. Okay, so this is where I've been meditating and channeling for about 25 years, but I really ramped it up in 2015 because I was forced to, right? It's like when you go through a dark period or you're not manifesting what you want, or you get pushed, right? You get pushed to the edge. And there is a reason we get pushed to the edge sometimes. It's so that we will snap out of our stupor, right? So sometimes we do go through dark periods to push us into growth, and tremendous amount of growth happened to me after that. So I mean, that's the positive side, is I wasn't in that forever, and I knew I wasn't going to be in it forever. And I started receiving really amazing, beautiful messages from my spirit guides and from the divine. And what I learned, and this is where most people struggle, is we have basically four things that we need to focus on. Okay, so number one is our thoughts, right? So I'm sure everybody's heard, the phrase, thoughts become things, and this is all also about the secret, all of that stuff, right? That's the law of attraction and all that stuff, right? So thoughts. So we're aware of our thoughts, but what most people are not aware of is that 95% of our thoughts actually come from our subconscious, and those subconscious thoughts form by the time you're about 5 or 6 years old. So, and that actually shows up in your hand shape. Okay, so when you think about being a little tiny baby to being about 5 or 6 years old, you are essentially in that dream subconscious state the entire time. So you're taking everything literally and you're absorbing it like a sponge. That's what babies do, right? They're absorbing, they're learning, they're picking everything up in the field. And so that hand shape is going to form and gel by the time you're about 6 years old. And so that creates these archetypes, and you have 16 major archetypes that can show up in the hands. And so that was actually my first book, Stories in Your Hands, is all about the archetypes. And yes, they do correspond with the tarot, by the way. So there's 22 total. It's all the major arcana cards correspond to your hands and your hand shapes. So I thought that was really an interesting correlation that I don't think most people have connected. But anyway, so the thoughts, okay, so we need to change thoughts from the subconscious. And if we know more about our hand shape and our archetype, we can actually really understand where the imbalances can show up for you. Okay, so for example, I'm a Chariot. I have a fire hand, I have short fingers, I have a long rectangular palm, I'm fire, and I have a strong index finger, which we call Jupiter. Okay, so everybody's going to have one of the four elements: earth, fire, air, water, and then they're going to have a strong finger: Jupiter, Saturn, Apollo, or Mercury. Okay, so everybody has at least one archetype. You can actually have up to 3. Yes, we should look at you, Katja.
Yes, I was like, interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? So the subconscious influences will show up in that hand shape. Okay, so for sure, if you are a fire hand versus a water hand, you're going to have different things that will come up for you. But this is why I love hand analysis so much, is it's the roadmap to everything about who you are. It'll show you exactly what's going on. So the second component is our feelings, right? So if you have a negative feeling that you're carrying, for example, guilt or shame, or maybe you were told when you were 4 years old that you were not good enough. I mean, there could be a lot of things that can show up, right, in your childhood. And so those can get lodged as trapped emotions. Okay. So if you have a trapped emotion that carries indefinitely, which I mean can totally happen, then that can also keep you from manifesting what it is that you want. So we need to learn what is trapped within us. And that also, by the way, shows up in the hands, shows up in the heart line. Okay, so your heart line is that top line just underneath the fingers, and it is going to show you your emotional system. Okay, so if you have like a break, for example, in the heart line, that's going to show where your emotional flow was literally broken, right? So it could have been from a heartbreak, or it could have been from an event, or, all sorts of things show up in the heart line. Maybe it's forked, right? Maybe you have a split in your heart line. That's going to show two emotional responses, right? So it's like, okay, which one are you feeding and which one do you want to feed, right? It's like the dragon. Which dragon do you want to feed? That's the one that's winning, right? So we want to know what our heart line is telling us so that we can therefore be what our hands are telling us to be, but we want to be that in balance so that it's in alignment with our goals. Okay, as opposed to our reactive or responsive self. Okay, then we have our actions. Okay, so a lot of people think, oh, I have been trying to manifest this forever and I'm doing all this, I'm doing all the action, right? But you need to look at it from the perspective of success rather than the perspective of failure, right? So you have to look at, well, if I had this as already being true, what would be my next step? What would be the next action I could take on my behalf? Because there's always a little step that maybe you're avoiding. For example, one that used to trip me up a lot was sales. Especially spiritual people, they oftentimes think, oh, if I try to sell my services and actually get paid for that, then I'm a bad person, right? I mean, that could be an undercurrent belief, right? So we have to look at that like, well, if I'm making an offer to somebody, what I'm actually doing is I'm giving them an opportunity to become the architect of their highest timeline, right? See how that's completely different? So a lot of times we just need to take action on our own behalf that is in alignment with what we want. So, I mean, I struggled for years being incredibly shy, being incredibly quiet, and I ended up learning through my hands, oh, hey, guess what? You need to speak up more. You need to get yourself more visible. You need to get over being small and insignificant. And so what did I do? I started podcasting and I started speaking up every week. Like, okay, I'm going to do a show. I'm going to do an episode. And honestly, the universe doesn't care if there's nobody watching. Okay. So, because a lot of times that's like what happens, right? It's like, oh no, I want to be invisible. Nobody can actually look at me. But you're making the effort, right? You're starting to take steps. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you're going to be as that person that you want to be, right? So now, like today, with you, I can be here and I can be comfortable and I cannot, freak out. So, but my old self would have been totally different. My old self would have been like, okay, I need to, take some tranquilizers or something, not that extreme, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally do, because
Yeah.
that's also my, like, sometimes our paths have similarities. Like, I was super shy when I was a child, and speaking even like this would have been giving me nightmares for weeks. But something
Yeah.
shifted when the message and the mission became more important, the purpose, why I'm doing these things. And that
Yeah.
gave me then the courage to start speaking, and it gets easier and easier. So if I just want to highlight this this golden nugget that you shared, if you are listening and you feel like I could never do that, just know that we thought that same thing as well. We worked through the emotions and then we
Totally.
started taking action.
Yeah.
Then it became easier because Cynthia, if you wouldn't have said and shared that, nobody would have ever thought like you had any issues with speaking.
Exactly. And yeah, trust me, I was painfully shy when I was younger. And I would never be the one to volunteer to get up on stage ever, So, but knowing that about myself and knowing what my hands have taught me has really helped a lot. And so then the fourth one that we need to pay attention to for our manifesting is our responses. Okay. And this one is really the one that I feel like most people forget. Okay. So let's say, for example, you do that podcast episode, right? And nobody shows up. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, instead of saying, oh, what a waste of time. Why am I doing this? Why even bother if nobody's going to show up? That's a negative response, right? So instead we want to celebrate. Oh my gosh, you being so shy and having such a hard time just getting in front of that camera, and you did it. I mean, that's huge, right? That is a huge accomplishment. And trust me, the universe is applauding you every step of the way. They are so supportive of you getting a little bit out of that comfort zone. But the key, and really the key to manifesting, is that you need to continue to be positive even when you see negative things happening. So you might get a troll, for example, who says, oh, this was horrible. I hated this episode. What are you talking about? You should just go back to your day job. Like, right? We have
Here's a
horrible
gap
trolls
though.
out there. And we could take that to heart and we could go, oh, you're so right. I should just quit my job right now and I should just go back to doing what I was doing. That would be so tragic. And I definitely encourage people to not listen to those negative voices, whether they're external criticism or the internal, right? Because sometimes we can be our own worst critic and we could actually pick apart the episode. Oh my gosh, I said too many ums and ahs and I hesitated and I didn't make eye contact and oh, I had this big zit on my nose and all these right? All these things that we can just pick apart and we can do that forever. Okay. But that's not going to serve you and that's not going to keep you from moving forward into your highest timeline. Okay. Your highest timeline is when you bring all of these things together and you sync them together in a harmonious resonance because energy is the reality of our existence, right? We are a vibration. We vibrate at a frequency. So if you're vibrating at the frequency of I'm not good enough, nobody likes me, I'm going to respond negatively to any little criticism, and I'm going to start with myself. How do you think that's going to play out in the universe? Right? Not so great. So we need and this is what came in. So this carries me into my next piece of training. The universe was so kind because I was manifesting and I was meditating and I was getting all these downloads. I was told by my higher spirit guides, hey, guess what? There's 8 essential intentions you need to anchor into your energy field in order to manifest anything that you want. And I'm like, whoa, really? Only 8? Like, that doesn't seem like that many. So anyway, I'm going to share with you guys what that is. And we're going to do a process that actually came in from the Pleiadian Council of Light to bring it into your vibration and your energy field.
All right.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear all that. So please do share.
Okay, so I'm going to just read to you the 8 essential intentions, and I might make a comment or two about each one. But number 1 is I know that I am a magical manifester of any abundance. Okay, so we want to come from a place of knowingness. Okay, so when you know something, you just know, right? You don't have to guess or question. Okay, so the first one is really about that anchoring in that deep knowingness. Number 2 is I am worthy to receive. Okay, so when you are worthy, right, then you're in a state of receivership. And by the way, your receivership energy shows up here on your lower part of your hand. We call Luna. Okay, Luna is your area of receiving in your hands. Okay, so if you have redness here, or if you have droopiness, or if you have like a flat mount of Luna, that is going to show that you are in a state of stress regarding your receivership. Okay, so we want to pay attention to that. Okay, number 3, I trust this is happening for me. Okay, so we have to be obviously we have to trust that the universe is going to bring to us what we want. And that takes a leap of faith, right? We don't see it yet. It's not in the bank account yet. It's like, okay, it's going to be out there, but where is it? We have to trust. Okay. So trust also shows up in the hands, by the way. If you look at your little finger, okay, this is your Mercury finger. This is your finger of communication. And your finger of communication is going to start to bend when trust starts to disappear. Okay, so if you have any kind of bend in Mercury, that means that you're being more challenged in your trust. Okay, there's also other things that show up in the hands, but that's an easy way to check. Okay, number 4. I am taking inspired action now, right? Okay, so we talked about that as the number 3 component of manifesting. Okay, so we actually have to take the steps, right? So, and the essential intention being inspired action means that we're coming from a place where we're connecting our soul's purpose, which is in your fingerprints, by the way. So your fingerprints form 5 months before you're born, and they never change after that. So that represents your soul imprint, your soul DNA, your soul purpose. And so when you can combine that with your personality, which is that archetype, right, that hand shape, and then you combine that with your free will, that's where inspired action comes in. Okay, so those are really the 3 components to hand analysis. Okay, so number 5, I am resonating with my desire. Okay, so we really want to, again, think of ourselves more like Tesla, like Nikola Tesla taught us. He said to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration to uncover the secrets of the universe. And so when we are resonating with what we are looking to attract, then it is naturally going to come to us like a magnet being pulling it in, right? It's coming towards us. It's resonating with us. That's why when we connect with somebody, right? Maybe you met somebody that you just felt a connection with, you resonate with them, right? Because you hold similar frequency and you're probably a soul family member. So when we incarnate as a soul, we oftentimes will incarnate as groups. And we have soul families that we carry out different lifetimes together. It's actually quite interesting. But yeah, if you've ever had that connection when you just met somebody the first time and you're like, whoa, I connect with that person, that's a resonance. Okay. So number 6, I release judgments or attachments to how this shows up. Okay. So this is really where we get tripped up, right? It's like saying, okay, I want to make more money. Okay, which is great. But do we then go and say, but I want to make that dollar with that serial number. And it needs to come to me exactly in this manner. That's putting on an attachment. Okay. So we need to let go of the how. How is it going to show up? You don't know how it's going to show up. And honestly, it can show up in really random and unusual ways. And that's part of the fun of the universe, right? Because the universe is infinite. If we have things that are, our mind, right? Our mind has a fixed set of thought patterns, and remember, we repeat our thought patterns too every single day. 90% of our thoughts are actually the same as what we thought yesterday. So our conscious mind has, 40 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And there's so much repetition. So we really got to be diligent to letting go of how is this manifestation going to show up. Okay, number 7, I continue to respond with knowingness and optimism that my desire is arriving in a way that's just right for me. Okay, so this is again our responses. We have to stay positive. We have to stay optimistic. We have to stay in that knowingness, right? That it's happening. We don't know how it's going to happen, but we're doing the work. Okay. And number 8 is I am grateful that I am now attracting more and more of my desires. Okay. So gratitude, why do we need to be grateful? Gratitude means that it's already done, right? So when we're grateful for something, we're recognizing, hey, that came true. Oh my gosh, that came true. And so I can be grateful for that. Okay. Now, to be grateful for something ahead of time is part of the game. Okay. So these are the 8 essential intentions. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you guys through a process that is called Palm Portal Healing. And we're going to look at a couple of things, and then I'm going to read to you this transmission. I'll take you through the process. Okay, so here we go. All right, so first of all, I want you guys to recognize that you have a point of change in your hands. Okay, so your palms, okay, if you look at the center part of your palm, this is called the portal of change. Okay. Also, I also just call it the Uranus point because it does correspond to the planet Uranus, which is the planet of change. Okay. So if you want to wake up that point, all you need to do is just give it a little massage. Okay. So this is the first activity that I would like for you to do. Okay. By the way, I was also given these aspects of ascension. And that's also part of the time, like accessing your highest timeline and being the architect of your highest timeline is the first one is being open to change, right? Because if we're not willing to change, then we're going to be in a state of stasis. We're going to be the same. Our vibration is going to be that of not what we're working towards, right? So we always have to be open to change. And by the way, if it's easy for you to be open to change, you can also tell that through the hands, and that's going to be through your thumb. Your thumb is your willpower. If it's flexible, okay, so when you bend it backwards, that is somebody who's more open to change. Also, if you take your fingers and you just kind of bend those backwards as well, that's another indicator of like, hey, I'm open to change. If you have really stiff hands, it's going to be a little bit harder for you, or it's just not going to be as comfortable for you. Okay, so that's the first thing that we want to look at is let's just wake up our point of change. Okay, next up is we want to look at the symbol for the cosmic heart. So I channel different symbols, and this is the one that represents the infinite universe, the cosmic heart consciousness. You can think of it as love, love energy. And I put it in a fractal. Okay, so if you look at the image, you'll notice that there's a fractal behind it. And I was told by the higher realms that there's a process called fractalization. And if you look at a fractal, it helps you to connect to your multidimensional self. Okay, so the symbol, we want to imagine that going on that point of change. Okay, and what you're going to do is just imagine it there, and then just go ahead and put both of your hands over your heart. Okay, so we're going to do that, and we're going to just envision that as we go through. And we're also going to play a tone. It's called the 528 hertz solfeggio tone, also known as the love frequency. And this is going to help us move into a state of harmony with the higher dimensional realms. And this will help us with our manifesting. Okay, so I hope you guys are excited about that. And hopefully you'll be able to still hear me even with this playing. Okay, so I'm going to read to you the transmission that came through. By the way, I do this in a process called automatic writing. So I go into meditation and then I write out different messages that come through in my notebook. Okay, so thank you for connecting today. This is the Pleiadian Council of Light. We are always happy to be of service to you, or you share our messages with a pure heart and listen attentively. The choices you make on earth radiate out to impact the entire universe. We would like you to understand the importance you all have and the power to reverberate love into the field. For now is a time of renewal, a time of rebirth, and a time of remembrance. It is time for you to remember the truth of your nature, your divine nature. It is time to drop the false identities of smallness, insignificance, helplessness. The time is now to remember your placement in the cosmic pattern of all that is. Today, we are in desire to share more messages regarding the emotional system. This system is a triggering mechanism to ignite the intentions into your perceived reality. You may think of them like a match. This greatly impacts what you perceive as your reality, which is why it is so important to feel. However, how can you feel when you are manipulated by electromagnetic or other interferences? This is a major issue that humans have to ascend the heart. One cannot ascend when feelings are numbed or distorted. We would like to suggest ways to return back to divine perfection. Place your hands over your heart with the portals of change overlapping. Brings a strong connection to the cosmic heart. You may choose to do this now and close your eyes. We will guide you. Do the 3 intentful corrections with the heart. Number 1, breathe into the heart and notice the beat. Steady and slow the beat to a harmonious level. Number 2, the heart mind. Focus on the heart mind and what intelligence it wants to share with you. Let it express itself just by asking the following. Heart mind, what do you desire for me to know right now? Then feel the response. Number 3, ask the body where it is expressing discomfort from the heart, for you are intimately interconnected. Breathe love into any area of discomfort. Allow the heart mind to connect to the area. Feel love, send love, receive love. Number 4, anchor the 8 essential intentions. I know that I am a magical manifester of any abundance because I am a divine co-creator of my reality. I am worthy to receive because I am love. I trust that my desires are manifesting because the universe responds to me and through me. I am taking inspired action now because I am an active participant in my co-creations. I am resonating with my chosen desires because I vibrate at the same frequency and can tune into any channel I choose. I let go of judgments and attachments to how my desires show up because I know the universe brings me the highest alignment of my desire. I continue to respond with knowingness and optimism that my desires are arriving in ways just right for me, because this keeps me in positive polarity with my desires. I am grateful that I manifest more and more of my desires because my gratitude affirms that it's already done. Now, choose a specific intention for yourself. Intend for money, physical health, confidence in your purpose. Choose something that you desire. Now, ask the heart how this intention feels. What is its vibration? Notice it matching your own vibration. Now, say the following to yourself silently or aloud. I now align my heart, heart mind, and heart chambers with this intention now to fully feel and vibrate in full coherence in all timelines and all dimensions. Thank you, and so it is. And go fully into this feeling. Notice the vibration in your heart. And when you're ready, you may come back to full awareness of your body, the place you are in. You may release your hands from your heart and open your eyes. We shall be happy to assist if you call on us, for this process is quite effective, and you shall notice your manifestations flowing with greater ease. We love you always. All right. So that is the transmission. I hope everybody is feeling amazing. Okay. So yeah, so that's a process that we just call palm portal healing. I do this with all the different portals. So we introduced the portal of change, which is in the center of the hand, but we also have a portal in each fingertip as well. So there's actually 11 portals that your hands have. And I love working with people in all the portals to helping them really to not only access their highest timeline, but to be aware and to really be the co-creator of your life, because ultimately that's what we're here for, is to bring in our free will, bring in our personality, and bring in our soul together to really have the best life possible.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I could feel that energy, and now you have it, so you can always go back to listen to it again. And I want to just check in if there would be one thing that you would like people to know when it comes to spiritual growth or ascension that you focus on, what would it be?
Well, I would encourage people actually to seek out a spiritual teacher or mentor, because a lot of times we, especially spiritual people, a lot of times feel very isolated, and they feel like they have to do everything themselves. And why am I not farther along? And I should know this stuff. And I maybe don't feel so confident, but I better just figure it out, right? A lot of times a lot of my clients feel this way. And you can do things on your own, absolutely, and you can do, nobody's going to force you, right? Nobody's forcing you to do anything. But you can just save so much time and so much pain and so much struggle if you actually hire a professional who, this is what we do every day of every minute of every day, essentially. So I know Dr. Katja is exactly the same way. She's a true professional, and she studies this stuff nonstop, and she lives her talk, and I'm the same way. I live my talk. I live in abundance. I know how to manifest. I've created the most beautiful life for myself here in Sedona that I never thought was possible, and it's way better than I could have imagined. And to have somebody who has been down that road ahead of you is incredibly valuable. And especially if they're coming from the heart, which is really the bottom line. There's a lot of, I'm not going to say charlatans, but there are a lot of people at different stages of development. Let's just put it that way. And you want to find somebody who is at a stage where the evidence is there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to manifest. I've done it. I don't have to pretend. Like if you come to my house, you'll see what I mean. I have an amazing life. So that would be my advice to people, is find a teacher a true, genuine spiritual teacher that you connect with and work with them, because life is really not meant to be this huge struggle, right? And a lot of times we think, oh, I can't afford it, or, you know, whatever that is. Okay, that's a story that you're telling yourself. Right?
It is, and it's almost the question, can you afford to continue the way you are right now? Because
Exactly.
it is a choice. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
can you continue that way, or do you want to have the support, guidance? And I think that's a super important part that you shared. And I know your manifestation skills. We have had conversations about this. So definitely the manifestation is something you support in Ascension as well. And now if people want to go deeper with you, they want to like, okay, share more. So I know, do you want to share a little bit about your book that
Sure.
you
Yeah.
have?
Yeah,
'Cause I think
absolutely.
that would be a great step as well for people to check it out.
Yes, this is my book, my latest book, I should say, called The MOJO of Multidimensional Manifesting, Unlocking True Abundance Through Spiritual Ascension. And this includes all 8 of those essential intentions. It takes you through my entire Diamond Path framework, which is 7 aspects of ascension. It teaches you about the portals, and it's really years and years and years of channeling. So I put together, you know, I mean, volumes and volumes of my notebooks. I literally have 4 notebooks on my desk right now. I always have notebooks like everywhere. And I wanted to bring it into a cohesive piece of work that was easy for people to read and understand and apply to their lives. So my book is definitely a great place to start. You can get it on Amazon, you know, worldwide. It's also available as an audiobook. It's available as an ebook. It's very inexpensive. So yeah, that's a great place to start. My website is ascension17.com. All my stuff is there, and I've been adding pages actually to my website. Feels like I'm never done with that. But I'm excited about it. So
Yeah, and I want to just also mention there is opportunity to get a gift from you as well, the Soul Compass Discovery.
yes, yes.
And I put all the links on the show notes, so check it out there. But what's that about, the Soul Compass Discovery?
Yeah, so that is a free membership. And what we do is every single month we go through a different portal in your hands. So, you know, there's a portal of manifestation, for example, there's a portal of ancestral lineage. I mean, there's a lot of portals. So we pick a different one every month, and we have different trainings that will correspond to that. So I pick a portal, I pick an aspect of ascension. You can get some free tools that you can play around with. I also created a custom AI. So this is another place where I'm embracing my techie self. And I've been working with some AI tools, and I created a custom AI that you can play with. And I just call it Soul Compass and Soul Compass Discovery. So you can actually have a dialogue about your hand shape, for example, and you can figure out what your primary element is. And then Soul Compass will help guide you in that. It's really super fun. So
Wow.
that's inside the membership.
I need to check that out. So thank you for sharing all that and giving these beautiful gifts for people. And thank you for all the work that you do in the world. It has been such a joy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for tuning in. If this conversation touched your heart, please do share and leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear from you, and subscribe for more. So thank you for tuning in.